Welcome to our 84th episode of Brew Talk with Mr.Beer. My name is Robert Lewis. I will once again be your host for today's show. As always, we appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in and watch our videos and all of our past 83 videos. If you want to reference the notes for any of our videos or this video in particular or any of our last 83 videos, you can find those on our blog page, mrbeer.com/blog. You can also find all kinds of cool written articles on there. We got some recipes on there. We had a cool one for a beer brine turkey, which is pretty awesome. Hopefully someone did it. And if they did, you gotta let us know. I know Ashley's a big fan of that one. She's done it before. And then posted a bunch of other fun stuff. So make sure you guys are checking that out. Kicked off some of our holiday sales pretty early. So those are going on now. So make sure you're keeping an eye on the site, keeping an eye on your inbox. We got some stuff rolling out over the weekend as well. So just be prepared for the holiday season of Mr. Beer. So today's topic I thought would be a good point, I think, for beginner brewers as well as people that have been brewing for a long time. Maybe you lose some of those kind of basic principles of brewing. But our topic today is 4 tips to become an expert home brewer, which I think everybody would want to become. And I think these will be, like I said, a good refresher for the seasoned brewer and great tips for those guys that are just getting into brewing or that will be getting their kits the next week or so, or next few weeks, I should say. So we'll kind of run through these. I'll be referencing my notes a lot because I don't have it memorized, unfortunately. Just gotta bear with me. Tip number 1 that we tell a lot of people is that you want to chase flavor, not ABV. Many, new brewers, I think we've all made this mistake, are looking to get more bang for their buck. And so you're looking for ways just to crank up the ABV of your beer. You want to brew some 9 or 10% ABV beer and get totally wild with it and just, you're like, oh, might as well. So there's some, easy ways you can do that. I mean, people add table sugar and stuff like that. You dump a bunch of that in there. Obviously, it's going to kick up the ABV, but it's not going to really result well in flavor. That there's different ways to increase the ABV while also adding good flavor to your beer. But when you're first brewing, we recommend brewing either just the refills on their own, or if you want to start experimenting with extra ingredients, and brew some of our recipes. I mean, we created all of our recipes are designed, precisely by brewmasters and like Zach and Ash do a really good job at that, to make sure that you're getting the right balance of ABV, of malt and hops and all that other stuff. If there's added fruit or anything like that, to make sure it all pairs well. So we have a number of recipes that are 8.5% and up to 12%. So if you want something that's big to brew, check those out. I mean, I know they're a little more pricey because a lot of ingredients, but you're going to get a much better beer. And just always make sure that, like I said, you're chasing the flavor and not the ABV. Just adding a bunch of like table sugar into your beer is not going to result in kind of the best taste. While you may get a really high ABV beer, it's not going to taste that well. So always make sure you're going for flavor over ABV during your brewing process. Step number 2 is different brews require different fermentation times and conditioning times. So this is true of our recipe. So all of our Mr. Beer refills we'll touch on first. Those don't change that much. We have several different styles, but they're all around the same ABV. You're putting roughly the same amount of malt extract into each batch that you're brewing. So we, recommend 10 to 14 days to ferment, then 14 days to carbonate in the bottle at room temperature. Then any time after that is conditioning flavors of your choice. The reason we have conditioning is a your choice option with our Mr. Beer, with all of our Mr. Beer refills and recipes, is because that everyone has different palates and likes different flavors. I'm a big IPA person, so I like drinking beers young because I like those hoppy flavors. Even when like stouts and stuff, when they age for like 6 months to a year, they become this malty, mellow, boring beer that I don't like. So I don't age beer for very long. I like to drink it early. That's just me. But everything is going to ferment around that time. Now, when you're getting into like brewing recipes or even creating your own recipes, you want to keep in mind on how much fermentables you're adding into that batch. So we have a lot of recipes that will have you ferment anywhere from 14 to 21 days. Depends on how much malt you're adding, but usually at that 21-day mark, no matter what you put in there, for the most part, unless you're getting super mad scientist, the beer is pretty much done. A few good rules of thumb that I wanted to point out here is that we do recommend bottling your beer before you hit that 24-day mark. I've done a video about this in the past about how long is too long to keep your beer in the fermenter. So try to bottle around that point. I mean, you start getting to like day 24, 25, 26, 27, your yeast can start kind of eating itself, creating some weird off flavors there. And also when you let your beer, condition for longer, like I mentioned earlier, at room temp, so it's sitting out in the bottles, you're going to lose some of that hop bitterness and aromas that you would get from a younger beer. So if you're brewing IPAs or something you just want to get that hop flavor, try it younger and see if you like it. You'll get a lot more of those hop notes. If you let it mellow for a little longer, the hop flavor will dissipate, the maltiness will come up a little bit. So it just kind of depends, you know, for what you want to brew. Waiting though. So that brings us back. Our next topic, tip number 3, is patience is a virtue. I think this is the hardest thing for new home brewers and for home brewers in general. It is a hard thing for me. Waiting drives me crazy. I know Zach and Ashley always brew a ton of beers, and I know I drive them crazy asking, is it ready to drink yet? Because I have terrible patience for that. But if you rush things when it comes to brewing, I mean, most of the time it's going to have a negative impact on your beer. You know, you can rush through the brewing process and forget to sanitize something or miss a step, and that can mess up your beer. You could just not let your beer ferment for long enough, and that can mess it up. You could not let your beer sit for long for room temperature because you're excited to drink it, and then it's not going to taste that well, and it's going to be a disappointment from there. So it's always good to take it slow during that brewing process, and during the fermentation process, during the conditioning process. Just let it play its course, because that way you'll know you'll get good results. And the worst thing I think for brewers to do is to rush the brewing process and miss a step or not do something properly. And then, you know, 4 weeks on the road, you got a bad batch of beer that you can't drink. It's a little disappointing. Another tip to have on hand is make sure you always have some beer available. Always have some good craft beer in your fridge, or after you brew a couple batches of home brew, make sure you get some stocked up and put away, set away. It'll help you with the waiting game. As you get beer built up, it makes it a little easier to wait on new batches, but it's still a hard part that I struggle with. And tip number 4 is seek out help. I found that home brewers love to share their knowledge. I mean, you run into anyone that home brews beer and you want to talk about beer, they'll definitely talk about it for hours and hours and hours. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, you can't know it all from the get-go, and obviously the best way to learn is ask. I mean, I've been working at Mr.Beer for almost 8 years now, but I still have a ton of brewing questions. There's people that have been working here for less years that have a lot more brewing knowledge than I do. So when it comes to brewing beer, I ask a ton of questions because I'm not sure, and that's the best way to educate yourself. So that's why we got things like our Facebook group, which is a great place to post your questions, no matter what they are. Even if they've been asked before a million times, post it in there because someone will answer the question for you, and that's what that group is all about, just to post your question and get your answer, and all of us come together and talk about beer and some fun stuff. So if you are unsure of something, just ask, or you can always give us a call or chat with us. That's going to wrap it up, guys. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to like it, comment, or share it if you can. We really appreciate that. Just helps spread the word of Mr. Beer and how fun home brewing. And maybe this video will be good for, you know, sharing for some new brewers and they're looking to be expert home brewers with the 4 tips we got here. That's going to wrap it up, like I said, for today. I mentioned our Facebook group. If you guys want to join that, you'll find that on Facebook. Just searching Mr. Beer's Brewing Society. We asked you to answer the 3 questions and we'll let everybody in. I'm sure we'll get a rush of new people coming for the holidays. So all those that are already in the group helping out, we look forward to you guys' help and support during the holiday season. We really appreciate that. And make sure you're following us on all social media platforms at Mr. Beer, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I almost forgot what social media was for a second, which is pretty awesome. Make sure if you're posting on Instagram to tag us in your post. We used to search via the hashtag, but now we can't because of some of the restrictions. So make sure that you are tagging at Mr. Beer, because we love to share everyone's brewing picks and processes on our story. It's really awesome. I hope you guys all have a great Thanksgiving. Our offices will be closed on Thursday and Friday. We will be back in operation Monday. So be patient with us through the holiday weekend, but hope you guys are enjoying some good beer this weekend. Hopefully you brewed some awesome home brews to share with friends and family. I think that's an awesome thing about home brewing, just sharing them with friends and family during, you know, special times of the year and everyone's getting together. It just makes for a fun time. So appreciate all of our loyal Mr. Beer customers out there, and we hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Cheers.